Hello again everyone and welcome to another episode of Let's Survive Reviews. On today's episode I'm going to be looking at a game that is a bit odd because it isn't necessarily a standalone, it comes packaged with Resident Evil 3, and that game is Resident Evil Resistance. Resident Evil Resistance is a 4v1 asynchronous online multiplayer game. In Resident Evil Resistance, 4 players are tasked with playing as survivors who have been put into a base by an Umbrella mastermind and injected with a virus, and their goal for the game is to escape. One player will play as the mastermind, whose goal is to drop in zombies and monsters and all kinds of big bad mutated things and try to stop those survivors from escaping. There's a bunch of survivors to choose from. There's Martin, Becca, Samuel, Tyrone, Valerie, and recently Jill Valentine has been added to the roster as well. Each of the playable survivors have their own unique skills. Valerie's kind of the medic of the group. January, who I forgot to mention when I was listing characters, is able to use EMPs and knock out cameras and things like that. Tyrone and Samuel are both kind of tank characters who can just kind of, bust open doors very quickly and use melee weapons really well. Martin can drop mines to help out, and then Jill is kind of a powerhouse. She's got her special is that she takes out her samurai edge and is able to just decimate. As for the masterminds, there's a character called Daniel. We've got Annette Birkin, who fans of the series will know from Resident Evil 2. We've got Alex Wesker, who is part of the Wesker Project. And we've got Oswald Spencer, who, if you played the original Resident Evil, it was the Spencer Mansion. He was kind of the granddaddy of Umbrella. There really isn't much to say in way of story for this game. It really is just hop online and play matches. There isn't a campaign, there isn't an ongoing story. It is legitimately just drop in and play. Resident Evil Resistance rubbed some fans the wrong way right out the gate because originally people thought it was going to be a standalone release for $60, and people were like, who the hell is going to pay 60 quid to play just a bunch of 4v1 matches, especially when we've had fairly lackluster online Resident Evil games like Operation Raccoon City, which I actually kind of liked, and Umbrella Corps, which is absolute garbage. When Capcom revealed that the game would actually be included with Resident Evil 3, a lot of people started to kind of warm to the idea and were, seemingly okay with it. But again, now that the game has released, a lot of people are saying things like, we want Outbreak, we want, a full online campaign story game. And I get it, but at the same time, this is a packaged game. It's not a standalone release. I would love a Resident Evil Outbreak re-release as much as anybody, especially in the new style of 2 and 3. But to expect that to come packaged with another Resident Evil game is a bit much, to be fair. But instead, what we get is Resident Evil Resistance, which is effectively an online mercenaries mode. It's not too different from stuff like The Raid or Mercenaries. You have a time limit. Stuff that you do within the map earns you extra time by collecting items or helping a survivor out, things like that. And then on the other side of that is the mastermind. Your objective is to try and knock as much time as you can off the people and eventually either kill them or force them to run out of time. As a survivor, your job will be to run around and basically work together to find, usually in the first area, it's 3 key items that will open the door to allow you to go to the next area. Then in the second area, usually it's the case of you'll have to kill a security card zombie, get a card, and then use that card to unlock a bunch of terminals. And then eventually you get to the third area, which has these things called biocores, which are big red tanks that you need to destroy. And again, you have to destroy 3 of these to kind of get through the last area and complete that game. However, unlike things like the Mercenaries, you're not just dealing with an endless swarm of zombies. What you are facing is a mastermind, a human-controlled player who is clever, smart, is able to drop enemies in pretty much in on top of you, lock doors, shoot you with a machine gun from their camera. Playing on the mastermind side really does almost have a real-time strategy feel to it. You have a bank of cards. You can use different cards to call in different enemies. They cost a certain amount of points. Eventually, once you've kind of built up enough points, you can do stuff like call in the Mr. X or William Birkin and a bunch of other cool, iconic Resident Evil monsters. Survivors, on the other hand, collect things called Umbrella credits by completing objectives, and also they can be found throughout the levels. These Umbrella credits can be cashed in for stuff like new weapons, healing items, and a bunch of stuff, including melee weapons. Some characters are actually much better equipped with melee weapons like baseball bats and torches. And so there is a cool kind of impetus there as a survivor to kind of run around, find these Umbrella credits, and beef yourself up for the next round, especially when you're facing off against particularly skilled masterminds. But here we get to my issue with Resident Evil Resistance. I just mentioned, incredibly skilled masterminds. The problem with this game is that you don't necessarily have to be an incredibly skilled mastermind to win, because you can just spam. When you're in a match with one of these masterminds who is just bombarding you, it just takes the fun out of it. It really does, because obviously when you're playing against a skilled mastermind who isn't kind of exploiting the game, there's actually a lot of fun to be had here, especially as a survivor. That's the mode that I prefer playing, so that's the one that I'm mostly going to kind of talk about. But when you play as a survivor, there's a lot of fun when you're up against a really good mastermind who is playing fairly but is, you know, putting you through your paces. It's just such a shame when that is ruined by somebody who is just clearly exploiting kind of bad balancing and bad game design. So this is one of those areas where I really hope Resident Evil Resistance does get, you know, continuously patched, continuously supported, and we get the balancing sorted out. There are definitely balancing issues on both sides, because a skilled survivor will know where to collect certain items, because there isn't an infinite amount of randomly generated locations for these items to appear. There's like 3. So, you know, a good survivor will run around and check in each of those spots and eventually be able to find them. Now, don't get me wrong, those are tactics. Like, you are going out of your way to learn the mechanics and understand, okay, this is where these might spawn. But yeah, it's just a bit limited. If there was a bit more variety to it, it might increase the kind of the hecticness. Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, it increases it would increase the kind of frantic nature of the game. There are loot crates to be got in the game by, you know, you earn them from completing matches. You get points. You can use those points to buy crates, which can give you, you know, enhancements as well as cosmetics. And as per always with games nowadays, there is a microtransaction component. There's these things called something points, RP. God damn it. Let me look this up because it's stupid. Yeah, so they're called RP boosters, and basically they just mean that you get more points at the end of a match. That kind of stuff really bugs me. I'm not a big fan of that. I understand that it allows people to kind of, you know, level up quickly and stuff like that, but I like doing it the old-fashioned way, but that's just me. Now, cosmetic crates cost like 50,000, which is quite a lot, so you're not going to be getting a lot of cosmetic crates, and to be fair, it's kind of a gamble, because a lot of the cosmetic crates are just, you know, skins for your guns and things like that. So you are really kind of, it's a real crap look shoot. Crap look shoot? It's a real crap shoot when you invest 50k in a cosmetic box and then you get a skin for your Magnum. Yeah, it's not too fun. Visually, Resident Evil Resistance looks fine. It's not anywhere near the quality of the Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3 remakes. It looks a little bit flat, and the textures are a little bit kind of weak. Again, I wonder if it's because it's online focused, that they're trying to do as much as they can to kind of maximize performance. But in saying that, the performance in this game is pretty bad, so I can't really give them a pass on the poor character models and textures and stuff, because the connection is constantly unstable. I mean, even when I have an incredible connection in every other game, I'll go back to Resident Evil Resistance and I'll be getting an unstable connection with host message, which is just very frustrating. On top of that, some of the matchmaking, they have improved the matchmaking in recent updates, but it's still pretty bad. Like, you should have your phone beside you at all times when you're waiting, because you could be waiting anywhere from 30 seconds to like 40 minutes, especially if you want to play as a mastermind. In terms of playing as masterminds or survivors, like, if you pick mastermind only, you will be waiting like 40 minutes. If you pick survivor, you might get a match in 5 or 10. If you pick random, you could be waiting any amount of time. It's so hard to know. And then my wife actually gave me a suggestion that really helped me out, which is that I really wanted to play as the mastermind, but I didn't want to wait like 40 minutes. So she said, why don't you just create a game where you're the mastermind and then just people will join? And I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. So I just went to created a custom game, set myself as the mastermind, and yeah. So, I mean, there is a workaround, but there shouldn't have to be. You know what I mean? These are the things that Capcom need to address kind of very quickly, and definitely add more characters and more skins and stuff. I don't care if I have to pay for them. If I have to buy, you know, Barry Burton or whatever, Rebecca Chambers, all extra characters, extra skins, I would do it in a heartbeat. Those are the kind of microtransactions I can get behind, not this RP currency bollocks. This is such a conflicting review for me, because I've had so much fun playing Resident Evil Resistance as a survivor. I've had some escapes, some are available here on the channel, that I've just really enjoyed. It's been great, it's playing with a good team, facing off against a good mastermind, but then it's just, they've become the rare matches now. In most matches that I've played recently, people have started to work out the exploits as the masterminds, and it just kind of takes a lot of the fun out of playing as the survivor. I could just go play as the mastermind, but I enjoy playing as the survivor. Resident Evil Resistance is far from perfect. It's not Resident Evil Outbreak, and it never will be. It's also not the Mercenaries. It's something new, it's something unique, it is something that I think can be great and has the potential to be great. The only thing that will kind of make that happen is Capcom actually supporting it, working on the balancing issues, and adding content to it regularly. So now we're at the review portion, and it kind of pains me to do this, but I'm going to have to give this game a 6 out of 10. And that does hurt, because I remember when I started playing it, I had such high hopes. It seemed really fun, bar the fact the matchmaking was so bad. That improved, and I thought, okay, this is great, I can get behind this. But definitely the issues with balancing have started to really rear their ugly head now in the kind of weeks since release. And I get the feeling that unless Capcom do something about that, it's not something that I'm going to be returning to all that much. Maybe with the release of additional content, and definitely if they do address the balancing issues, this is something that I will definitely keep playing, and as I say, has the potential to get a higher score down the line. But as of right now, it's just not quite good enough. And it's not because it's not Outbreak, because as I say, I don't expect them to package Outbreak with another full Resident Evil game. I just think that there is huge unsung potential in Resident Evil Resistance, and I would love to see Capcom kind of really step up to the plate and actually support this online game. At present, Resident Evil Resistance is only available as part of Resident Evil 3, which is available on various stores for between 45 to 60 euros on PC, Xbox One and PS4. A lot of people are requesting that Capcom release a standalone version of the game. I do think that would be a good idea and potentially draw in more people, but I guess time will tell. And as I say, we really need to see that Capcom are willing to support this game before we even consider them releasing it as a standalone experience. So that's it for our Resident Evil Resistance review. I want to thank you so much for checking out the video. If you liked this review, please let me know in the comments down below, and if you like the content that we're delivering here, please hit that subscribe button. It makes all the difference. It really helps me out and makes me want to keep doing this. If you want to catch up with us on the socials, where we're kind of doing polls and getting interactive and getting people involved in Let's Survive, you can go down to the description, check out our Facebook page and our Twitter page, and get involved, join the conversation, because yeah, I love nothing more than talking with other people about survival horror. So please join in the conversation. Yeah, that's the end of this review. Thank you so much. Let's survive together, and peace out.